Hi, everybody. How you doing today? So you decided you're going to take a GLP-1 medication. Congratulations. That's great. They work great, in my opinion. Now, I want to start off by saying I am not a doctor. I don't pretend to be one. I'll always punch you back to your healthcare provider. So you're going to take a GLP-1 medication. I always tell people first thing that you should do is have realistic goals. You're not going to lose 100 pounds in 2 weeks. So make it realistic. You could have a final goal. You could have a monthly goal weight. Now, keep in mind that the average person loses 1 to 2 pounds a week, and it all depends on what you eat with it and if you exercise and a few other factors. So I also recommend that you read up on the literature so that one about allergies, about side effects, whether they're severe or not so severe. Now, the not so severe ones, a lot of people feel some nausea. That's fairly common. Some people get some diarrhea, constipation, heartburn's another one. Just kind of a bellyache. Now, as if they start getting more and more serious, you need to let your healthcare provider know. There are serious ones, and I've done videos on side effects if you want to go back and take a look at them because there's some really good, useful information. So next, you have to decide where are you going to get this from? Are you going to get it from your regular doctor, from a telehealth service, endocrinologist, bariatric specialist, weight management doctor? Do you want to physically go to an office, do it over telehealth? There's plenty of options out there. You have to decide what's best for you. Please do a little research on whoever you're going to go to because if you go to your internist or GP, I know some people that have, and they just look at the literature and first month you're on 2.5, second month you're on 5, the next month you're on 7.5. And I'm not a doctor and I don't want to tell them how to do it, but I think that that's wrong because within 6 months, you're at the highest dose. Where do you go from there? What if it's a couple years or a year and a half journey? What are you going to do? You're already at the highest dose. So I always try to tell people stick with the dose as long as it keeps working and as long as you're not having side effects. Next, you read all the literature, you picked your doctor, pick your starting date, and right before you do that, measure yourself, weigh yourself, write it all down because it's bound to happen that you reach a plateau or you're not losing as quickly as you want to. And if you go back to your measurements and measure, you could be losing inches instead of pounds. Personally, I'll take that all day long, but that's just me. So definitely keep a log of that. There's apps to do that. I'm going to be probably doing a video on the apps. I know Shotzi is a pretty good one. And I was just looking at Gala, ALA, which seems like it's a pretty good one. They both cost money. I think one's $19 for the year and the other's $49 for the year. But if you don't want to do that, there's the old-fashioned pen and paper. That works fine too. And I would keep a weekly journal of what you weigh, and this also helps. You could do it bi-weekly if you want, that's up to you, but you really shouldn't weigh yourself every single day. I know I am guilty of that. Yes, I do that, but I do realize that my weight can fluctuate a couple pounds in the same day. It doesn't really bother me. I've just been in that habit. It's a terrible habit. I know that. It's one of these things, do as I say, not as I do. So I would also write down where you did your injection because there's 3 places you could do your injection: your stomach, the top of your thighs, or the back of your arms. I personally prefer my stomach because for me, my legs hurt. My wife, she likes to do her legs, so she'll switch between her legs and her stomach. Neither one of us are big fans of the arm because usually you need somebody to help you do that. And there's plenty of good places. So I do all mine in my stomach. I kind of use it as a clock so that I don't go into the same place every week. I write down where I did my last shot so that I don't have to worry about the next week. Oh God, where did I do that? I know I'm doing it the same place. You take all that worry out by just logging it. And again, all these apps seem to have a place for that. So I do that, and obviously, you know your dose, but again, you might want to keep track of that if you're going to go looking back on your journey, because you never know, you might do so well that you decide to have a YouTube channel and talk about it. So that's totally up to you whether you want to write down the dosage or not. Uh, I'm not saying that you should log your food, but just be mindful of your food. Some people go into it with the attitude of, I'm going to eat the exact same thing, just smaller portions. And that works, but I'll tell you, it's usually not as quickly as if you actually change your diet. And do realize you are going to eat some of those foods once in a while in a smaller portion. So it all depends on how much you want to put into it as to how much you get out. So besides just logging it for the food reasons, you might get kind of a tummy ache or a little bit of diarrhea, and you could try to figure out what kind of food caused that. Now, they say greasy foods tend to do that, and that's true, but some people, just cauliflower or Brussels sprouts, sometimes on this medication will give you some diarrhea. So, again, if you're writing things down, especially for the first part of your journey, you can learn a lot from it. Plus, you'll get used to typical meals for you and switch out your meals and you'll get to know portion sizes and then you really won't have to do that anymore. But again, that's totally up to you. So it's also a good idea to go onto social media and find some groups of people taking GLP-1 because they can answer a lot of your questions. Now, granted, they aren't doctors either, but just simple ones they can answer. And it's also very good for support, especially if you're on a stall or something and you tell your story. Some people might have some suggestions that work. And also, there's plenty of YouTube videos. There's plenty of on my channel as to what to do if you have a stall, how to eat better, and so forth. And there's other channels out there. I'm not the only one. I don't claim to be the only one. There's some great channels out there. I watch other channels. I'm members of other channels. So use it. It's a tool. I try to use all the tools that I could get. So, next thing that you want to do is don't be hard on yourself because, again, this is a lifestyle and we're all going to be bad, however you want to call it, once in a while. We're all going to go out to dinner, probably eat something we shouldn't have, and maybe order dessert. Again, just realize smaller portions. It really does help. And you should also think about moving your body. You don't necessarily have to be in a gym for hours on hours. You do total weight training and full cardiac. It helps, trust me. But if all you can do is walk, if you're at work and you have a set of dumbbells, you just start lifting them while you're working. Also, anything helps. You want to keep yourself moving. This helps the whole process. It helps move things along. Make sure you stay hydrated. That is just so important. It helps in just so many ways. It helps with your bowels. It helps the medication work better. A lot of people say if you drink a glass of water right before the meal, you won't eat as much. Now, since we're not eating as much, please keep in mind that you do need certain amount of nutrition in your diet. You need a certain amount of calories just to breathe, your heart to beat, your kidneys to function. And if they're not getting enough calories put in, the first thing they do is they burn fat, which you want. Second thing they do is burn muscle. You don't want that. We lose muscle naturally with age, so you don't want to add to it. And any quick weight loss or weight loss, you're going to lose some muscle. One of the reasons that I use the Renfro scale is because it keeps track of that. And I'm sure all these apps also keep track of that. But you have to have the scale or something that tells you how much is protein and how much is water. Is it 100% accurate? Probably not, but it's a tool to go by. It's a guide. If it's going up or down, it's going up or down, whether it's correct or not. So those are some of my tips. Make sure you get enough protein. And again, shot day, you may not want to eat. You do need some nutrition. Try some protein shakes, protein water, stay hydrated, and try to get in at least one good meal. Be mindful of your protein, of your fiber. You definitely want to have a little bit of the good fats, like olive oil, guacamole. And those are my big tips for when you're starting your GLP-1 journey. If you want any more information, I have lots of videos on this on my channel. If you have any suggestions for me, write it in the comments. And anything you want me to cover in the future, let me know. Again, I'll probably do a video, Shotzi versus Gala, and you can see which one's better. Again, they do cost money. There are some free ones out there, but they're not made for GLP-1. But like I said before, is the old-fashioned pen and paper works fine. So that's the end of the video. Have a good